I really want the listeners and the viewers to viscerally understand this superpower that you have. I believe I have it as well. But like I said, I've really seen you demonstrate it at a high level. And I can imagine, I know when we chatted last week, you mentioned that there's some things brewing that if you can pull off are going to be extraordinary. And even the understanding that it's going to require you to pull it off already gives a little bit of a taste to the enormity of what you drive after, and anyway, in whatever it is that you go for, which is just, it's a cool quality to have. So I want to dig a tiny bit deeper into this, and I want you to, like, what goes through your mind when you go to, like, let's say, for example, what's something that you can talk about that you're about to do next in the entourage, something that's already been made known, like you did the recession program, right? So you launched a recession program, which is to help people through coronavirus, which is a beautiful initiative and a very smart way to make sure that you're also doing well in this situation, which every business owner should be doing. And you went, cool, you came up with the idea and you went on launching, and you launched straight away. And then you brought a bunch of absolute legendary entrepreneurial guns into the program. So you've had like Michelle Bridges in there, or was it?
Not yet. Mish will probably be coming on. Yeah, Janine Alice.
Yeah, Janine Alice, who's one of like Australia's most famous entrepreneurs. Boom, you brought her into speaking. Like, what gives you the, like, what, how do you just think, well, I'm going to have, if this program's going to be successful, we need the best. Like, what goes through your head to make the call to bring in such big guns?
I'm just not interested in mediocrity. I'm just not interested in being an also-ran and doing anything insignificantly. Now, it was Gandhi that said, whatever we do in life will be insignificant, but it's important you do it anyway because you're the only person that will. And I think there's huge truth to that perspective as well. You know, if you think about we're a speck of dust floating around the sun that has been here for less than 5 minutes and we won't be here in another 5 minutes, then everything we do is insignificant. Yes. So it depends on the perspective in which you're viewing it through. But, you know, in business and in Australia, I mean, for me, my thought process is often two things. A huge driver for me is always, what does the world need now? What does the world need now? And so when something like the current crisis comes along, and I'm speaking to our members and I'm speaking to business owners, I'm building a feel for, and I'm building a deep insight into what are the challenges they're facing, how are they feeling, and what do they need? And so what does the world need now is a North Star driving question for me. The second piece of the puzzle for me is, what am I feeling, right? Like I was, and, you know, I'm so deeply concerned about the health crisis component of it and saddened by so much of what we're seeing around the world. I am and was also very excited by the opportunities that are going to be and are right now present for so many people around the planet, whether they're business owners to reimagine their business, or people to reimagine their lives, or even just sit in your fucking house for 6 weeks, sit down and spend time with yourself and think and read and meditate and pause. Man, like for you know, spiritual beings and conscious humans like you and I, like the fact that that's being forced upon the world is arguably one of the greatest gifts I can think of that's ever been forced upon the species, right? And so that excites the fucking shit out of me. That really gets me going, particularly when this thing started to hit and everybody was a bit panicky. I didn't feel panicky because of 2016 and the strength that I was able to build in navigating adversity and commercial challenge for that period. And so I wasn't panicked. I was deeply concerned about the health implications, but I was deeply excited about the opportunity for human beings to pause and for business owners in particular to reimagine themselves. And that excited me. And so whenever there's a, what does the world need now? And what am I excited by? And whenever I can marry those two, that's when I get a huge surge and a huge charge that I literally feel in my chest that drives me forward.
Would you say that is resonant in the heart? Like your heart pulls you forward? Like you get that nod?
I think the feeling thing is the heart, right? Like what does the world need and how I feel? That feeling thing is a heart thing, but the charge comes from more like the center of me. It's such a peculiar thing to try and explain. I literally feel like my chest is being pulled forward.
And what happens if it doesn't? What happens if it flops?
If the project flops,
Anything. Like, let's use the project. What happens if the recession project just doesn't go ahead? What do you do?
I don't really care. I mean, in that instance, I wouldn't. I would just keep pivoting until it hit. I just keep pivoting until it worked. But in something like that, I mean, there's not a lot of there's no sort of financial investment, and so the downside isn't all that great. And so yeah, so let's say we release it. I mean, that's just another month for us. Like we release content and have different sort of themed conversations all the time that don't hit, and I mean that's just part and parcel. That's
the physiological level. Like Amazon talks about one-way doors, two-way doors. With decision making, if it's two-way door, it means the decision you can walk through when you make it, and you can easily walk straight back through the same door you came in.
Yeah,
that would be launching a Facebook ad. Doesn't go well. Who cares? Just build another one. You spend $100. But you know what? For most entrepreneurs launching a business, bar quitting a big hefty salary, like there's not really too many one-way doors. Most things are two-way doors. You're launching Facebook ads, you relationship building, you're attempting to close a sale. If you don't, logically, most things are two-way doors, but it's more of an emotional and mindset thing that I'm interested here. And I know I'm hitting on the same point, but people that are listening are captivated by you. They want to learn from you, and they want to learn from me. And you are just making these decisions left, right, and center. So how are you just making the decisions?
Yeah. So in terms of let's say we launch this particular project and it flopped, my emotional response would be nil. It would be literally zero.
You don't care.
And that it hasn't always been that way. Like if we go back 8 years, I started Entourage 10 years ago now. If we went back 8 years, if we had a person attend an unconvention, there'd be 1,000 people there, and we get feedback from 900 of them, and one person leaves one bad comment, it would feel like a knife to my stomach, and I would literally lose sleep. I'd be like, what if this person talks to another person and they talk to another person? I mean, like this kind of hate is going to catch on, and everybody's going to think that we're losers, and like it'd be one negative comment, and I would take it to the nth degree and worry about it for an extended period of time. I think dealing with feedback, and failure is just feedback, is something that you can intellectualize the fact that failure is just feedback, but what's more powerful than that is when you continually experience it for an extended period of time, and you realize that, hey, that person complained, and obviously we weren't a right fit for that person, and I don't feel great about that, but nothing really changed. There's still a whole bunch of people that we can serve. And then, hey, this happened, and we're still here. And then 2016 comes along, and we lose fucking millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it comes into the hardest 18 months of my entire life. And we're still here. And so you build it like an emotional muscle, where, to the point, to come back to your question, if it didn't work, there just would literally be zero emotional response. It would be it would be more of an analytical
curiosity.
Why isn't it hitting? What can we do better? Pivot, go, pivot, go, pivot, go. And that's just life.
Yeah, you mentioned like when I was running Unconvention back in the day, we had 1,000 people there, and one person didn't like it. But you've already got to the point where you're running a convention that's got 1,000 people at it.
Yeah,
I don't know any other business conference in Australia that's had 1,000 people at it. So that's already at a level of success. It's pretty amazing. And my experience getting into running seminars to start winning was so terrifying for me. And it's almost like the only way I could justify to myself to have a crack was by giving myself permission to fail. And the way I did that was like, I'm going to run a seminar a week until I'm going to give myself at least 3 years of doing a seminar a week. If it doesn't work by then, whatever, but I'm going to at least try for 3 years. Cause I know after 3 years of doing them weekly, I'm going to get good. And I needed that. Without that self-talk, or that kind of like distinction that made me feel safe, I couldn't do the seminar, because I attached my self-worth to, I would have attached my self-worth to the result of the first seminar,
Yeah.
let alone the second, third, fourth, fifth. And then after I built a team, I feel like this is a cool thing that happens as an entrepreneur. When I had a team and built to the point that I had a team, which it took a lot of like energy to build it up to that point where I had a team. But once the team was there, it was just the muscles were developed, and the team
Yeah.
made it mandatory to show up and be courageous and preach the vision. It just happened automatically. But now
Yeah.
that I downsized and I'm restarting, the team is one employee, and I'm about to hire an operations manager because it's damn hard to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm having to do I have to push it up again and get to that point where it's the ship's actually moving. There's momentum, and I'm feeling that. And it's actually takes courage. It's not easy, but I felt like once it was running, it was easier.
One of the things you'll find is that doing it the second time, you do it significantly faster with significantly less angst and significantly less mistakes.